Hello game devs. In this video we're going to talk about enemy spawners. We're going to create an object, a C# script that is going to allow us to add a list of enemies that we define in our game. That interval is going to be adjustable so that we can have them come out at a certain amount. And it's going to be something we're going to place in the world so that we have like an object for it to spawn out of. Here I have the FPSMicrogame. What we are going to do in here is go to our scripts folder, and we're going to create a script of our own, create C# script, and we're going to call this enemy spawner. Oops. Okay, so in my script, I've removed some of the comments, and we're also going to remove the start function. In our above here, instead of the start, we're just going to add some variables. So public float timer equals 0. We're going to say public float spawn interval equals 5.0f, and that's just the way I do it. Public list game object, and then enemy list. All right. We're also going to say private int, or excuse me, not in here. In the update function, we're going to say int equal, or int I equals 0. Next line, in the update function, we're going to increment the timer. So timer plus equals time.delta time. Now, time.delta time is the real amount of time that happened between each frame, and that's different for every computer. So this is the way computers figure out what the real time is and make things smooth. Otherwise, like if your computer gets bogged down, things would otherwise take longer. We're gonna make another couple lines, and we're gonna say if the timer is greater than, if I can find that, greater than spawn interval, open brace, instantiate enemy list I, comma, lower g game object dot transform dot position, comma, quaternion dot identity, and then the semicolon at the end. I know that's a lot. I went a little fast, but if you put all that in one line, and then timer equals 0. So we're going to set the timer back to 0, and then I plus plus, so we're going to increment I. Okay, so now that we have all this, we should go back to our game. And it should load. Inside of our room, you spawn underneath the inside the yellow diamond room. We're going to create another game object that is somewhere near or somewhere in this room. Let's maneuver this so that it is in the room and near the floor. Oh, looks like it's not near the floor. We're going to put it kind of in the corner of the room that you start in. And it's a little bit above, but that's okay. We're going to name this game object spawner 01. And then we're going to add a component to it, enemy spawner. And the enemy spawner script, the thing we just made, the spawn interval's at 5. You can always change that. And then there's this list. So we're going to increase the list so that we can drag whatever we want. And I've got my prefabs folder, enemies folder selected. I'm going to just drag in a turret and a hoverbot and a turret. So what should happen is when I press play, we should see that these enemies spawn in every 5 seconds. And we can kind of come out here. Oh, yep, and here's the first enemy to spawn. There's the next enemy. And looks like it's hover bots. Interesting. Am I forgetting something? Perhaps I am. Oh, excuse me. So what I messed up is we probably should put in our code, we should put that integer. We're going to say private int I equals 0. We're just going to put that up there. I have a feeling something's getting a little messy with that, because it's spawning the same one over and over again, and it's not incrementing. And so I want it to increment. So let's go back to our game. Press play. And now we should get the big turret. There it is. Run away. So, the code will be also up online. I can share that with you. It's pretty straightforward, but just to give you, just to go back to it, let me go to that view. And so that way, when we chat, I'll wrap up. And let me move this. So this is all the code you need to create a enemy spawner. Now, waves of enemies and other things, this is possible. I'm going to link down below a more complicated tutorial about how to set up waves. I just was trying to limit the amount of programming and concepts we're going over, but there are other ways to do this as well. This is just the way I do it, and it would be something that would be really useful if you want to create enemies and little lists of things. If you want to, for instance, create this object, but you want it to spawn in at a different time, you could also, create an object that like spawns when an enemy dies. So there is ways that you could actually get around it a little bit by setting it up really quick, really smartly. So I hope that's enjoyable. I will see you virtually in class.